Could we please slow down? I can't keep up with this ridiculous pace,
complained Ernon, breathing heavily as they ran through the woods.
I'm sorry, Ernon, we mustn't lose the fairy.
That blasted fairy. How do you know it was sent by the wizard? What if it just tried to get us lost? That's what fairies do.
If you stopped your constant meaningless drivel, Ernon, you might be able to catch your breath.
Oh, you bold fool. You of all people. Do you think I'm going to take advice on athletics from you?
Keep moving, Ernon. It's getting away.
Oh, holy sun. Am I the only one with any common sense here? This is intolerable.
The fairy had remained in the surrounding area while the crypt cleaners had been hiding the wagon, never straying too far from their position. The moment they had tried to approach it, however, torches and sunrod now in hand, the creature had shot off into the darkness of the woods. Lismond, feeling a strong anxiety about losing sight of the creature, instantly started running after it. The two others had, of course, given chase. He was not sure why he had done such a reckless thing. To rush into the woods in the middle of the night was folly, for many reasons. It was just that he felt that he had understood the message. He had been convinced of it, but now that certainty had all but vanished. Now he felt foolish, barreling through the undergrowth, chasing a fairy in a pitch-black forest. With a torch that could barely light a few feet ahead, branches would scratch him and snag on his clothes. He was aware he had no idea how to get back to their vehicle, and he was dragging his two poor fools of companions into the danger with him. This was exactly what happened in the tales involving fairies, only this time he was the foolish man in the stories, straying far from the path in the dead of night, following the devious creature deeper and deeper into the dark woods. Just as Lismond was beginning to truly doubt his sanity, the chase abruptly came to an end. One moment he had been running through the thicket, the other he was emerging into a small clearing, lit by a full moon. Right at its centre, sitting on an old tree stump, had been Gorith, staring back at him, his grim expression half covered by shadow. The unsettling scene had caused the thief to stop immediately. Pepper drew up next to him a moment later, his eyes looking upward for the fairy, wondering why Lismond had stopped. He had been about to say something when the sudden sight of the wizard had cut his words off before they even began. Ernon had been the last to arrive, bumbling into the clearing, panting and moaning.
Oh, good son, I think I might actually die. We priests are learned fellows and have no time for sprinting.
Realising the other two were now stopped, he asked,
Are we finally accepting that blasted fairy has led us on a wild goose chase? And now we're lost.
Completely out of breath, the man hunched over with hands on knees, oblivious to the presence of the blue blood.
You've never been more lost in your lives,
said Gorith in his typical controlled voice as he stood up from the stump. Lismond had forgotten how terrifying those eyes looked, white irises on black. The priest gave a small shriek and snapped upright, stumbling back a few steps. He raised his glowing sunrod, which he had been using in place of a torch.
Put that away, priest. You will need that sunlight before this night is done.
The priest hesitated, scared to death. Lismond, sensing some sort of threat, stepped in front of the priest, his hand on the hilt of his sword. Pepper looked white as a sheet, and for once had nothing to say. Not knowing what to do, Lismond stayed in place, and in a controlled voice managed,
What do you want of us?
I want certainty. A covenant,
responded Gorith as he slowly walked towards them, holding what seemed to be a white chalice in his hand.
A covenant?
The moon be my witness,
he said, opening his mouth to reveal a horrible set of serrated teeth. Taking his right hand to his mouth, he bit down slowly on his forefinger, never taking his eyes off Lismond. Blood instantly seeped from the wound, appearing black, yet shining in the moonlight. blood dripped from his now wounded hand, running to his fingertip to fall into the chalice as he held it out in front of him.
No harm shall come to thee, not by my hand, not by my will. If your vow is made and remains unbroken by the dawn of the 10th day, I shall grant you your weight in silver, as I have promised.
Then raising his chalice to the moon, he continued,
Let the moon take my blood if that is not so. Let the moon take my blood if I break my vow.
Lismond followed Gorith's gaze to the sky. He could swear the moon was shining brighter than ever. He did not remember ever seeing it so large.
Swear it now, each of you. Give your blood and swear by the moon to follow me for 9 more days and 9 more nights, to execute my commands as best you can. Let the moon take your blood if that is not so. Let the moon take your blood if you break your vows.
He offered the chalice to Lismond now, the closest to him. The thief leader had a churning in his guts, feeling a sense of dread at the depravity of this whole affair, yet the choice had been made the night before. Forwards was the only way now. He had learned from a young age that there was no point in doing things with half measures. No point in doing things half-heartedly. No good came of doubt. When you made a decision, you saw it through. He unsheathed his dagger and steeled himself for what he was about to do. He knew he did not fully understand what was going on, but clearly the situation was not to be taken lightly. Placing the blade against the palm of his left hand, he said,
Let the moon be my witness. I swear to follow your commands as best I can. Let the moon take my blood if I break my vows.
Having said the oath, he took a deep breath and cut, just as he had on the previous day, letting the blood drip into the chalice as the wizard held it out to him. Gorith then turned to Pepper.
Give your blood and swear by the moon. Let it take it from you if you break your vows.
It's okay, Pepper. Too late for second thoughts now.
Pepper glanced around the clearing for a moment, a part of him wanting to flee. Returning his fearful gaze to Lismond, he noted the bravery in his eyes and found himself taking confidence from his leader. Pepper said,
I swear. I swear by the moon to follow your orders. Let the moon take my blood. Take my blood if I break my vows.
Drawing his own dagger, the thief too sliced across his palm and then extended his hand, adding his blood to the contents of the cup. Gorith looked on, expressionless. Turning then finally to Ernon, the wizard continued.
Now, put that sun rod away and swear by the moon, priest. Give your blood so it can be taken if your vows are broken.
The priest, his hands shaking, hesitantly lowered his sunrod, causing its already weak light to fade out.
Is there no other way? I am a sun priest. This sacrilege, it's too much. Fear not, priest. This is not the first covenant I have made with your kind. The sun did not anger then, and the sun will not anger now.
Come on, Ernon. Give me your sunrod and take my blade.
Oh, good son, forgive me.
And so the priest exchanged his rod for Lismond's dagger, and taking a deep breath, like his friend had done before, closed his eyes and put the blade to his palm.
Oh, that hurt! Oh, holy sun! Complete the covenant, priest. Yes. I swear by the moon. I swear by the moon to carry out your commands. Let the moon take my blood if I break my vows.
With that, the priest fell to his knees. He slumped forward, silent, his face buried in his hands. Gorith managed a small, twisted-looking smile. Taking a step back, he raised the chalice to the moon one last time and spoke.
The moon has heard us. Let our blood be taken if our vows are broken.
And with those words, a strange energy was suddenly felt by the 3 thieves. Something cold gripped them at their necks and ran down through their spines and then throughout their bodies, an energy that made them feel naked and observed. Once the ritual had finished, Gorith had ordered the 3 crypt cleaners to fetch their shovels. Unsure how to get back to the wagon in the darkness, the wizard had been forced to guide them. To their surprise, the vehicle was only a short distance from the clearing, and it was now obvious that the fairy, which was nowhere to be seen, had been toying with them on the chase through the trees. Once back at the clearing, Gorith the Wise had ordered them to start digging at a patch of earth a few feet away from the stump upon which he had been sitting. Initially the 3 companions had worked silently, but as boredom had gradually chipped away at their fear and trauma, the desire to speak had eventually returned. Pepper had, of course, been the first to break the silence, and as Gorith had shown no reaction, the other 2 had eventually joined him. As the 3 worked and conversation flowed, they began to return to their normal selves.
I'm sure we're almost there, boss. I have a feeling,
said the bald man, swinging his shovel and tossing dirt from the deep hole they were now in.
Oh, you said that 3 times already. Do you really think you have the power to instinctively know how deep objects are buried in the ground? Ha! I'm sure the stunted people of the pit would be chomping at the bit to consult your arcane wisdom for their mining operations, but...
Ernon looked up from the hole and looked around in a melodramatic manner.
Strange, I don't see any prospectors here at all.
Ernon then unexpectedly locked eyes with Gorith and sheepishly returned to the task.
Anyway, I do hope this time you're right. How deep can this be? We have been digging for hours now.
if you can call what you're doing digging. I've seen earthworms move soil faster than you, Ernon. It's just been the boss and me doing all the work, as usual.
I have told you countless times it's part of my agreement with Lismond. I am a priest. We agreed I would not be doing menial labour, such as digging graves and the like. I can't be expected to compromise all of my values just to make your life easier,
expressed Ernon, clearly offended.
What do you think we're digging here for, boss?
I don't know, Pepper.
Lismond paused and glanced up at Gorith. The tall wizard stood presiding over the forming pit, motionless as he observed their progress. Lismond returned to the digging and spoke.
Gorith, perhaps you could enlighten us? Knowing what we are actually digging for, it could potentially help us, or at least provide us with more motivation.
To his surprise, the blue blood did answer.
Before I went into my slumber, I buried here some prized possessions that I am now in need of. Some of them I plan to lend to you three, for the time being.
Treasure? For us? What is it, my lord?
Asked Pepper with a glowing smile, all traces of past trauma now completely gone from his face.
I will not waste my words. I shall describe them when the moment comes, and not before.
Oh, yes, my lord,
answered the thief, a bit saddened at not having been able to satisfy his curiosity, but always grateful when the wizard conversed with him. After a moment of thought, he added,
If you don't mind me asking, my lord, why not leave your possessions in the crypt? Would that not have been much easier?
So that crypt robbers like yourself could plunder them? There is only one thing of value in my crypt, and it is not something that you can steal.
Boss, I think he knows what we are,
whispered Pepper, elbowing him softly, trying to catch his attention.
Boss, did you hear what?
Not now, Pepper.
It was then that Lismond's spade struck something solid with a dull thud. He looked up, his eyes meeting Ernon's, the priest's face transitioning to that concerned, worried expression he so often wore when he was unsure what would happen next.
Here, I've hit something. I think we found it.